pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, Councilmember Dickinson will lead us in a word of prayer as we begin.
Dear Heavenly Father, may the words of our mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen.
Amen. Prior to our roll call, each of us as community leaders stand on the shoulders of many who have gone before us and have worked to build this community into one that we love. And last week we lost one of those founding fathers, if you will, in Mike Swift. We currently are planning a celebration to honor him in the coming weeks, but tonight I would like for us to begin this meeting with just a moment of silence in his honor. So if you would please join me in that. Thank you. If you would please call the roll.
Honeycutt. Here. Norris.
Here.
Kirkpatrick.
Here.
Witcher.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Neal.
Here.
Dickinson.
Here.
Gross.
Here.
Oliver.
Here.
Gauntz.
Yes.
Lowry.
Here.
Hammer.
Here.
We have all 12 present.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the council meeting on February the 13th. I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Motion.
By Councilmember Norris, and second. Councilmember Witcher. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The first item on the agenda tonight is, the second item actually, is an ordinance, the first reading of amending the annual budget for this fiscal year.
Mr. Mayor, here pinch hitting for Rich tonight, and on your budget amendment ordinance, he's given me a summary, and I'll read that. And this ordinance, number one, receives into various general funds accounts set forth in section 1 through section 4 as specified. A, $2,987.50 insurance proceeds for a wrecked vehicle that will be replaced. B, $3,048.24 in contributions for police supplies and ammo. C, $8,925 in surplus property sale proceeds. D, $3,200 in fire commission grant monies. Number two, it appropriates from the unappropriated general fund the total sum of $1,742,120, which is to be transferred to various expense accounts set forth in section 5 of the ordinance for the energy savings project. And number three, appropriates from the unappropriated general fund the sum of $3,048, which is to be transferred to various police accounts set forth in section 6 of the ordinance. And this is for police supplies and ammo. Number four, it appropriates from the unappropriated general fund the sum of $13,500, which is to be transferred to a police vehicle account set forth in section 7 of the ordinance. And number five, appropriates from the unappropriated general fund the sum of $5,900, which is to be transferred to a fire department account set forth in section 8 of the ordinance. Number six, it appropriates from the unappropriated general fund the sum of $3,124, which is to be transferred to a fire department account set forth in section 9 of the ordinance for truck repairs. And lastly, it appropriates from the unappropriated general fund the sum of $418,225, which is to be transferred to a Plaza Theater account set forth in section 10 of the ordinance for truck repairs. This ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication according to law.
Having heard the ordinance read, do I have a motion to approve?
Before we do that,
That's not a truck repair, is that what I'm getting to say?
That was what on the summary, but in the ordinance it says, Plaza Contractual Improvement
Right.
Account.
And since the numbers are so big, would you mind enumerating them in the capital improvement part on the first page?
You'll have to answer that. I don't know if you were the budget, have to answer that.
Could we get a motion in a second, then we'll get into that in discussion, Wendell?
That's fine.
Okay,
I just think people need to know.
sure. So do I have a motion to approve? Councilmember Honeycutt, and second? Councilmember Gross. Now, discussion. Stephanie, the treasurer, is here, and she can, I think, speak to those probably as well as anybody, but I'll be happy to take the first stab at it. Did you want just-
Be sure the amounts and the project name were understood on each one.
Stephanie, can you verify those, I guess? $1,143,950 to the 8220 account? Okay, that's for the,
What account?
that's the cultural center improvements under the performance contract that we voted on in the last meeting. That's their portion of those improvements. $150,774 in the 8535 account. That is their portion of those improvements in the performance.
Clubhouse.
Larrabee Mitchell Clubhouse and the energy performance contract and their portion of that. $205,035, 8535. The improvements to, I should let Councilmember Gross do this. He obviously has got these notes.
It's in their budgets.
It is, these are all budget accounts, and adjustments to those accounts. The 193,458 is the energy performance improvements to the Recreation Department facilities. 17,545 in the 8530 account, 2270. Substation improvements for the energy performance contract as well. 15,804, 2250, 8530. Okay, that's the main fire department facility and the performance improvements there. 15,554, 85. Street department facilities and the improvements associated with that property. Those total the $1,742,120. Is that all that was in question? The others?
That's what I wanted.
Okay.
The other part that I want to make clear is we're spending this money, so it has to go into the budget, but at the same time, we're borrowing the money from a state fund, and the repayment of that borrowed money comes from our guaranteed energy savings.
Not exactly. These are our funds, and then the energy and maintenance savings will pay that loan back or that expenditure back. Yes, but it's not from a state loan fund of it. Correct. That's correct.
What does that do to our surplus, Maria?
That will reduce your surplus by that amount.
And what do we have left?
Excuse me?
What do we have left then?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. Stephanie, you want to make a guess at that?
Be a little over 3 million.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Of course, that Everybody sees that big one, that's the culture center, which the majority of that's HVAC, and
The bulk of that is, but as well, you're basically replacing every light and/or fixture in the facility. You have a tremendous amount of display lighting that Chief Atwood can attest, as can Eddie. Excuse me?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Both Chief Atwood and Eddie can speak to the fact that they continually respond to phone calls from the Cultural Center to replace light bulbs and many number of displays down there. So the upgrading of those to the LEDs and associated fixtures, I think, will greatly reduce those trips, as well as the energy savings that's associated with that. So it is, the bulk of it is HVAC, but it is a much bigger project than just HVAC.
And the payback's 20 years or less.
Yes. Some of those improvements pay back much quicker than others, but the entirety of those are within that 20-year timeframe, yes.
I have a question. Is that stormwater money in the general fund that we collected for the improvements of the streets?
Is the stormwater monies in the general fund?
Yes.
No, there's a stormwater fund, a
Gotcha.
completely separate stormwater
Okay.
fund. And the stormwater fees
Yes.
that we have collected historically go into that fund.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
What percentage of the other parts that are going to be done? Is this a phase, half the phase of the whole thing that we're going to vote on, or what? How many projects were they total? I forgot. Is this the total number?
No, this is not the total
Okay,
expenditure,
I didn't
no.
think it was. That's what
No.
I was asking.
No, the total contract was 2.7, is that correct? Not a number I recall right off, but
The contract that we signed that was approved here was $5 million and some dollars.
this portion of it, this is the first payment, if you want to think about it that way.
When's the second payment?
Well, we will have monthly progress meetings, and they will submit a pay application. This is the way typically construction projects work, Jake.
Is this going to draw down all of our surplus?
No, sir.
She said we had $3 million left in surplus and we got $5 million to spend. I don't understand the math.
Well, again,
On the projects that we do, and it will depend on how these, it will depend on the projects that we do and what money we spend as we go through. And you all were at a meeting that they explained how we do that.
No, I wasn't at the meeting.
well, the contract that we signed is $2.7 million. That will leave us with that $3 million surplus. Again, if you recall, and again, I know you weren't at the last meeting, but I know you do recall the conversations we've had in the past concerning this program and the fact that you can borrow those monies and your savings will pay that back. So should we decide to continue and go to that full $5.9 million that this group authorized in our last meeting, then we would have to obtain some financing to pay for that, and those savings would make those payments. This is simply the budget amendments to move those monies to the accounts so that we can write those checks from those accounts to improve those individual properties. Some of those facilities have their own funds and some do not. Some are paid from the general fund. Others, like the Plaza and the Cultural Center, have their own fund, and so those monies have to be transferred into that fund so the check can be written out for accounting purposes. Other discussion? We have a motion and a second. It's the first reading, therefore be a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the filing of application with the Department of Transportation.
This is the summary resolution authorizing filing the application for, quote, FAST Act, end quote, grant. As part of the city's annual application for grant monies to fund its city bus operations, this resolution authorizes Mayor Dick Doty to execute and file a grant application on the Glasgow Transit System's behalf with the U.S. Department of Transportation, and as part of the application, number one, to give assurance or provide documentation as required to comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, including setting forth and executing minority business policies in connection with the project's procurement needs. Two, to give assurance that the transit system will comply with various sections of the, quote, Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act, end quote. And third, to furnish additional information to the U.S. Department of Transportation as may be required in connection with the grant. And fourth, to execute grant contract agreements on behalf of the transit system. This resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after the date of its adoption.
Having heard the resolution read, do I have a motion to approve? Councilmember Witcher? Second by Councilmember Lowry. Any discussion?
This is this yearly application we've been making.
Yes, it is. And there will be a couple more here, Mr. Witcher, in just a second about transit, but this one basically says we'll play by their rules. We'll submit the appropriate documentation that we are doing at the federal guidelines. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Next is a resolution committing our local share of funds to that transit grant application.
So I'm reading it verbatim. It'll be City of Glasgow resolution number the next. A resolution committing the local share of funds necessary to secure a section 5307/5311 application. Whereas Glasgow Transit System is authorized by the City of Glasgow to apply for and accept grants of money to assist in the implementation of a transit system in Glasgow, and whereas Glasgow Transit System has applied to the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and the Federal Transit Administration of the United States Department of Transportation Act of 1964 in connection with the Section 5307/5311 project, and whereas said application assurance of the Glasgow City Council relative to the commitment of the local share for the Section 5307/5311 projects. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky as follows. One, that the Glasgow City Council hereby gives assurance that it is the intent of this body to commit its local share of the funds necessary to support this project to improve transit service in Glasgow for a minimum of 5 years from the inception of the project. Said local share of expense is to be resolved from local funds. Number two, that the Glasgow City Council hereby gives assurance that it is the intent of this body to continue the operation of transit service for a minimum of 5 years, and adopted this, you do it today, 13th day of March 2017.
Having heard the resolution, do I have a motion to approve? Councilmember Neal, and second. Councilmember Gross. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We have another resolution authorizing the city to enter into an agreement for the National Creative Placemaking Fund. This is a grant as well.
Likewise, I'm reading the entire resolution on it. City of Glasgow resolution number, a resolution authorizing the City of Glasgow to enter into an agreement with the National Creative Placemaking Fund, NCPF, for a grant for the marquee room renovation in the Plaza Theater, and directing the mayor to act as the authorized correspondent for this project. Be it hereby resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky as follows. 1, that April Russell, Director of the Office of Grant Oversight, shall be and hereby is authorized and directed to make application on the city's behalf for an Art Place grant through the National Creative Placemaking Fund, NCPF, designed to invest in planning and development projects which deploy arts and culture to strengthen the community. This grant, if received, is for a project to renovate the Marquee Room in the Plaza Theater. 2, the amount of the grant is $150,000, which will be used, if received, by the Plaza Theater for the renovation of the Marquee Room. This grant has no match. Be it further resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky, that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute and furnish all required documentation as may be required by NCPF for the furtherance of the above referenced project and to act as the authorized correspondent for said project. So adopted this 13th day of March 2017.
Having heard the resolution, do I have a motion to approve? Councilmember Honeycutt, and second? Councilmember Lowry, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. One last resolution, this authorizing me to make application for funds for the communication equipment through a Homeland Security grant.
Again, reading the resolution as prepared, the City of Glasgow resolution number, a resolution authorizing the mayor to make application for funds for communication equipment and upon approval to enter into an agreement with the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security, KOHS, to execute any documents which are deemed necessary by KOHS to facilitate and administer the project, and to act as authorized correspondents for this project. This resolution also establishes a procurement policy for any KOHS-approved projects for the fiscal year 2017 application cycle. That whereas the City of Glasgow, Kentucky desires to make an application for United States Department of Homeland Security and/or Commonwealth of Kentucky funds for communication equipment for the Glasgow Police Department, a project to be administered by the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security, KOHS, and whereas it is recognized that an application for and approval of KOHS funds impose certain obligations and responsibilities upon the city. Now therefore be it hereby resolved as follows. 1, the mayor of the City of Glasgow is hereby authorized and directed to make application for United States Department of Homeland Security and/or Commonwealth of Kentucky funds for communication equipment for the Glasgow Police Department. And the mayor is further authorized to execute and furnish all required documentation, included but not limited to a memorandum of agreement as may be required by KOHS for the furtherance of the application for the above referenced funds for communication equipment, and to act as the authorized correspondent for said project. 2, in the event the city is approved to receive fiscal year 2017 KOHS funds, when utilizing those funds to purchase equipment and/or services, the city will use the provisions of KRS Chapter 45A for the purchase of communication equipment. Specifically for any equipment and/or services under $20,000, 3 quotes will be obtained, and for any equipment and/or services which exceed $20,000, the provisions of KRS 45A will apply, and adopted this 13th day of March 2017.
Having heard the resolution, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Councilmember Norris, and second?
Second.
Councilmember Kirkpatrick. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is municipal order appointing Petey McLean to the Glasgow Electric Plant Board.
I'd like to speak to that, Mayor.
Do you want to read that first?
You want me to? Yes.
Okay. Let us read that. 1 second, if you don't mind.
City of Glasgow Municipal Order Number On order of the mayor, Petey McLean is hereby appointed as a director for the Glasgow Electric Plant Board. Ms. McLean's appointment shall be for a 4-year term expiring January 31, 2021. This appointment fills a board position that expired January 31, 2017, and is subject to the approval of the Glasgow City Council this blank day of March 2017.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve that? By Councilmember Gross, and second? Councilmember Neal. Any discussion?
Yes, I'll speak to that. Mayor, I would like to table this motion for the time being, and because of the legal position we are right now, not putting Ms. McLean in any way so that we can come back and look at her after this is settled.
Did you move to table?
I move to table.
I'd like to ask a question, if I could.
Motion to table.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to discuss, if I may, Patrick.
Point of order. I don't believe a motion to table gets discussion.
Well, of course not.
No, I believe a motion to table non-debatable?
Wasn't last time.
Excuse me.
I'd like to ask the attorney a question. Mr. Gardner, as I understand, to shut down all discussion, you've got to have more than 2/3 of the city council to approve that, was my understanding from Mr. Alexander, that you had to have more than 2/3 to just shut discussion down. And I would like to vote to see if there's more than 2/3 that do not want to discuss it.
Well, as I understand right now, the motion is to table, and the motion to table is not debatable, so you have to take a vote on that. Then if you're talking about the merits of the first motion, then
But then the motion
I think you're talking about if somebody calls a question. That's what
requires
we gotta do.
majority.
But do we have do we have an opportunity to ask a question on the order, or does it just get shut down?
Well, we have to vote on the motion, and that requires the majority of the group to table. So if the majority does not want to table, then we will go back to the original motion and second to debate or to discuss the municipal order
that
to
is
appoint.
debatable.
Or can discuss. So I guess at this point, we have a motion and a second to table this. Being as we need a majority for that, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote to table this motion, to table this municipal order.
Neal? Dickinson?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Gross?
No.
Hammer?
Yes.
Lowry?
No.
Witcher?
Yes.
Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Honeycutt?
Yes.
Gauntz?
No, sir.
Oliver? Yes. Harris?
No.
Five no, 7 yes.
All right, the motion is tabled.
What was the vote again?
5 no, 7 yes.
The next item on the agenda is municipal order to appoint Bill Anderson to the Code Enforcement Board.
The City of Glasgow municipal order, on order of the mayor, Bill Anderson is hereby appointed to the Code Enforcement Board to fill the unexpired 3-year term of Kelvin Hawkins, said 3-year term expiring July 31, 2017. The appointment is subject to the approval of the Glasgow City Council on this blank day of March 2017.
Having heard the order read, do I have a motion to approve? Councilmember Harris, second. Councilmember Gross, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discussion for possible action of selection of an auditor for the Glasgow Electric Plant Board. If you remember back sometime, Councilmember Dickinson brought up the fact that the auditor for the Electric Plant Board was specified in the little TVA Act to be selected by the governing body, which is this group. It is approaching audit time for the Electric Plant Board as it is for all of us. Therefore, if in fact this body would like to select an auditor for the EPB, the time is now nearing. We have with us both Mr. Ray and Lanny White with the current auditing firm, Carr, Ingram, and Riggs. Is that correct? Carr, Riggs, and Ingram. That can answer any questions. A couple of points of order that need to be mentioned is the Electric Plant Board had a audit selection committee some 2-3 years ago that put out an RFP for auditors, interviewed or took proposals and interviewed a number of auditors, came down on Carr, Riggs, and Ingram, and entered into a 3-year agreement, I believe, 3-year agreement with them to conduct that audit. So they still have 1 year left on that agreement. So they are prepared and ready to continue with that. But this group may, in fact, if you wish, switch gears and do something different. So I will leave that to the discussion of this group. Those gentlemen are here and can answer any questions that you might have concerning their credentials, agreement, or anything else that you might like to speak to.
If the plant board entered into a 3-year agreement, I don't see any reason to nullify that.
Any other discussion?
I move that we'll select them as the auditor.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to proceed with the current agreement for the auditor for the Electric Plant Board. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Hey, Mayor,
Yes.
I'm usually not in the right time frame of asking, and maybe I'm not even allowed to ask, but I was just wanting to know if we could get an update on the, what was voted on the last time as far as hiring Danny Basil, and if we've done anything with that or not done anything, or I don't know if this is the right time or while we're talking about the EPB, I just was curious if anybody had an update, or has anybody drawn up an agreement that we would be able to see pertinent to the scope of work, or I don't know if that's the right time to ask, but I was just curious.
This group did in fact hire Mr. Basil to represent them to investigate any further action. The city has written him a check for that retainer, and I'm assuming that his work is underway, but that is, he is an employee of this body and not of the mayor's office. So I really cannot speak to any work that he has done today.
Should we each as the body get the amount of work that he's done and what that information, or is that just privy to this group, whoever has the majority, or how does that work?
He's your employee, and I would...
I'm sure Mr. Basil will give you the information if you'd ask.
Okay, so I just need to go to him? So,
He's your best friend.
okay, so are we supposed to meet as a group together or not just individually, or I guess I'm just curious, or ask
We
the
can meet
answer's
as
going.
a group.
Okay,
I think you...
well, you could meet as a group, you may not want to discuss what you're meeting about as a group, is what I think you would.
You want to meet?
I don't think we can meet as a group. It violates the quorum.
If we're discussing,
If you want to invite Mr. Basil to a council meeting, that's a different story.
Okay, so that would be the way. So I guess I guess we're all on our own. I'm new to the party, so everybody's on their own. So if I want Danny to work on stuff for me pertinent to the EPB, is that okay or not okay, or? Okay.
If it meets with that agreement.
That was what I asked. I didn't know that there was an agreement. Do we have a copy of it?
We voted on it
What
last
we
time.
passed last meeting.
Right, but I mean, my question is, do I need to get the agreement from Danny, or nobody here wants to give that agreement? Or share it, I guess just call Danny and
I
get,
think there's a written agreement in existence. I think we passed the resolution, and he's working off that resolution.
I would hope Danny, he's a lot smarter than me, I'd hope he'd want to know an hourly rate. I'd hope there'd be some information in there that would protect him as an attorney.
Well, you need to ask him that.
Okay, fair enough. And I got one other question, not to be the, can I?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Just as these votes, I think this vote was 7-6?
5.
7-5, okay. Awesome. Probably not as important, but still the same question. I mean, it's with no disrespect, but Mr. Norris has voted to retain an attorney at the, as I understand it, Electric Plant Board, and you voted to retain an attorney here. One of those maybe should be abstained. Is that a fair question? Can I ask that question? Or-
That's a question for the Ethics Committee.
Okay, so just take that, I just didn't want to drag it, written performance, but just bring it up at the next meeting. Okay, got it.
I'm not sure if I can ask this now that the motion about Ms. McLean has been tabled, but I'm just curious that we've had a month to discuss this appointment, and 20 minutes before the meeting starts, I'm approached, probably one of only few approached, because of the way the vote went, I assume everybody else knew what was going down, about this, of what would make us suddenly decide we don't want to fill that seat. I spoke with her 2 weeks ago, just as it had been requested of us to do, and I'm just not sure why we don't want to go on with that vote and get someone on the plant board that can maybe help bring about the change that people want to see.
Back to your original statement, you were one of the first people approached. You knew about it before the majority of the people here knew about it.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. Would you like to explain now that it's been tabled why you don't want to vote on her? Have you spoke to her?
No.
Oh, okay.
I would like to know how many on this council took the effort, since we had to have this extra time to vent this nominee. Can I see a show of hands, how many of you made an effort to call her and speak to her? Thank you.
I'd just like to, could somebody give me, what are her qualifications, or what would be the reason that she is before us to vote?
Obviously, those qualifications are going to be in the eye of the beholder, but I placed her before this group for reasons that I feel were qualifications, one of which she's been a member of this community for many, many years, served as the pastor of a local congregation here, served as the head of the community relief for a number of years, obviously as a civic-minded individual, a lady of integrity, falls into that category of fixed income that we have heard so often. Again, I think a lady of integrity, one that is committed to this community, a part of this community, those were the kind of things that an intelligent lady.
And one last question, I won't promise I'll shut up, but on a table, is that like, will we vote on it each month to say, are we voting on it now, or is it tabled in some definite time period, or?
You can make a motion to bring it off the table, Patrick.
Okay, and then just gets voted on again? Okay.
I would like to say something. I spoke with Petey myself for over an hour on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and I wrote down some key things, and she even told me that she didn't mind if I shared. One of the things was she told me that she didn't feel right off that she probably wasn't an acceptable candidate. Another thing that she said was...
Hey, Mona, what was her basis for that? She just say that it was, did she have any backup for that, or did she just say, I don't feel like I'm qualified?
I don't remember.
Okay. Or accepted or qualified?
Accepted.
Okay.
Acceptable. Another thing was, I asked her about the rates and the structure. She said she would learn about that the day that she was appointed. I have a problem with that. If you're up for appointment, I think you should educate yourself in that. But that's just me. She has gas heat. She's not on board with hiring attorneys. She didn't have a solution or a compromise. She said there is not much that she understands about it, which I don't either. And she also said Andy Bashir did a piss-poor job taking a position on this. She also said Glasgow was a pukey town. So therefore, that's why I voted the way I did.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I just wanted to
Everybody's
clear
got
that up.
opinions, and I appreciate that.
And like I said, she did say that she was okay with me using her words, and those were her words.
I served on the Community Relief Board with her. She was chairman this several years ago. Wonderful lady. It's very, very good work as she led that group as chairman. I have nothing but good thoughts about her. I just think we need a better balance. People that will question why things are done, and so that's why I voted to table it.
Okay, my question is this: why didn't we just vote and everybody vote no? Because it appears that she is not an acceptable candidate from the voices that I've heard. Why not go ahead and make the tough decision to just say no then, instead of dragging this out? Because I was at the last electric plant board meeting. Mr. Gross and I were the only people there besides 3 board members. And I watched how difficult it was for those individuals to try to get a vote through. Would you not agree, Freddie? That to try to appoint someone to do different tasks and to carry out the business of the plant board that the community depends on, we've got to get someone on that board. So I don't understand why we tabled it instead of just voting no so that the mayor could pick someone else out. Because we're now going to be another month before we can vote to fill that position if we have to wait to take this off the table and for you to choose someone else. Am I correct, Mayor? Okay.
Yeah, I would just, I'm pretty much black and white kind of guy, just, if you don't want her, I don't know what's going to change anybody's mind, to your point, Martin, and I respect anybody that says yes or no.
I have a question for the majority of you all that voted yes. Did you all speak with her?
Yes, ma'am, I
Yes.
did.
Okay. Okay, and I just want, for the record, to make it clear, she is a very intelligent lady. I don't think, after speaking with her, that she wants to be on the board. That was my...
In fact, I talked to her today for about 30 minutes, and that was not my sentiment. Her sentiment would be like anybody, to latch on and step into the firing line. I don't know if anybody wants that here at the council or at EPB, but you do it, and I do know that she loves this community, and I do know that she feels like that it's gone past the point of, is this just about infotricity, or is this just about getting rid of one or more people? And, I think she just wants to step up like most of us probably did and say, hey, I just want to try to make a difference.
I agree.
But if she's, a nice, intelligent lady that's civically minded, that's served the community, I'd rather just say 8-4 or 7-5 no, so we can get on to the next person. Because, it would be like if 1 or 2 of us were gone, you would want to fill that spot, I would think. But that's one person's opinion. So I just don't know what and maybe the better question would be, what are we looking for to hire? We've said she's got integrity. We've said she's civically minded. I don't know maybe we went the wrong way. Maybe we should have said, hey, here's what we want. We don't really want these. We want something else, which is fine. I don't harbor any ill will if somebody wants to vote no. I respect that. But just putting stuff off for the sake of, I don't understand. That's my problem.
Is it safe to say that we are not going to put somebody on that board now that we have hired an attorney? Is that what's going on? Because I'm confused now.
Well, that was what I understood from Chief. He said, we're in a lawsuit and this could solve, it's what he spoke to me. If I'm wrong, tell me.
That's what I said.
Yeah, he said, this could be over in a couple days or a couple weeks or a couple months. And why would we want to hire somebody to put them on there? Now, Chief probably is a better negotiator than I am, but I've been in probably over 100 lawsuits. I've never seen one in 2 days. I've never seen one in 2 weeks. I've never seen one in 2 months. So this will be, if we continue down this path, this will be months to years to hundreds of thousands of dollars that the community that we're trying to help, the people we're trying to help, we're going to punish them by higher electric rates and legal bills. So that's my opinion.
You think the electric rates are punitive now? Is that what you said?
No, I'm saying the electric rates, as soon as whatever Mr. Basil and I find out, since it's on me and I didn't know that, that's my problem, that I just thought we were a body. I didn't know we was individuals going along. But now that I know the game, I know how to play. But my point is that if we just spent $20,000 there's kids going hungry in this community, there's people going hungry, there's people's house that's burning, I can tell you 100 situations just as y'all could. We just do $20,000. Now, if Danny's Danny's a dear friend of mine, if he sues Electric Plant Board, what will be the next step? They've got an attorney.
This is not a lawsuit, this is a hearing.
Do what now?
This is not a lawsuit. We're not suing the Electric Plant Board.
You're not.
We're not suing the Electric Plant
board to
Board.
remove the board. So
We're
do you
not
think
suing-
they're just going to go willingly?
No, we're going to have to vote on it, but it's not a lawsuit.
What would you call it?
I'd call it a public hearing and a vote before the council.
So usually public hearings, we don't lawyer up in those kind of things. But in my experience,
They
I mean,
lawyered up.
Take their rights, so we hired an attorney to be sure we did everything correctly.
right, but they only hired an attorney because somebody said that the board, is my understanding if I'm wrong, that they, and I get these words mixed up, but there was feasance or malfeasance within the board, that they looked at this data and said, hey, we made the wrong decision.
I don't think we're looking for malfeasance or misfeasance.
Okay, well, and this may be, your answer may be, I need to check with Danny, which is fine with me, but I would like to know what you're wanting to get from Danny. If you tell me, if not, I'll ask Danny and he can tell me what the group, so what is it that you want, Jake, from, yes,
I want the rates reduced at some point between the current optional plan and the point where they were in 2015. That's what I want.
and I respect that, I don't agree with that because the friends of mine that have LGE, the friends of mine are in California, friends of mine are in South Florida. If you read the national paper, everybody's rates are up. I don't think we're going back.
I got friends in Cub Run, their rates are not up.
I'd say there are exceptions in each situation, Jay.
Mayor, I have a question for you. As council, are we eligible, I guess the word, to nominate somebody to you? Are we,
It's the mayor's responsibility to appoint board members and this group's responsibility to confirm those.
But I would say, and I may be wrong, but I would say that if we remove the board and remove Billy Ray, there will be a lawsuit.
That's not a goal.
I'm just telling you the facts.
I don't think that's a goal at all.
I hope they sue us back because I want somebody there that knows. I don't want 5 of us running the electric plant board. And I sure don't want somebody like me running the electric plant board. I would rather have a board that's had some history or seasoning. And Marna, I respect what you just said, but I don't know that anybody's going to know the rates and everything until you get in the middle of it. I would say Mr. Norris has probably learned a lot in the last, however many meetings you've been to, one or two, that you didn't know when you were started into it. But anyway, I mean, we have differences of opinions, and that's fine, and, you know, I've made some notes, and I'll be better prepared next meeting.
Mr. Oliver, would you have any interest in seeing if we could take that off the table and just go ahead and vote on it so that we can try to find someone to put on the board?
No.
Okay, thank you.
A few announcements to make tonight as we conclude. The Far Off Broadway Players will present Things My Mother Taught Me on March the 17th and the 18th at 7 p.m. and on March the 19th at 2 p.m. at the Plaza Theater. Tickets are available for only $10. You can contact the Plaza Theater for details. On Saturday, March the 25th, the Plaza Theater will have a free movie. That's An Uncommon Grace is the title of that. That will be at 4 p.m. There will be a meet and greet. This is the film that you may recognize that was filmed in Barron and Hart counties back late last year. The meet and greet will involve some of the cast of that performance. That will be at 6 p.m. There is a $20 suggested donation for that. Proceeds will benefit the Southern Kentucky Film Commission. Those can be reserved in advance. Those can be reserved in advance at eventbrite.com. Country music legend John Anderson will be performing at the Plaza Theater on Saturday, April the 1st at 7:30 p.m. Those tickets are $30 and $25. You can contact the Plaza Theater or go online at plaza.org. Thursday, starting at 6 p.m. at the Fine Arts Bistro here on the square, teams from Barron County, Glasgow, and the Trojan Academy and Gatton Academy will be performing there at the Bistro. They are calling this Mission Melody. Each month, they will choose a cause event or an organization for donations and awareness. This month, that organization is the Bunch Community Garden. Palmer Lessenberry is the coordinator of those events, and we will see those on a monthly basis. Anyone else? One other thing, we spoke about the performance contract. The Perfection Group has been on site. They are in the process of procuring materials to begin that. We will have a schedule of activities coming from them this week so that we will know the activities of those, but that is underway, and we should see some improvements in several of the facilities in the coming days. Are there any other announcements to come before this group? Yes, Ms. Russell?
On Saturday, March 18th, from 9 to 3 at Southgate is Free Shredder Day.
Free Shredder Day at Southgate Plaza, 9 to 12, and the date again? Saturday, March 18th, Free Shredder Day. Any other announcements? Have a motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? We are adjourned.